How's it going, everyone? My name is Coxie and this is part 14 of our first person shooter tutorial series in Unity. And what we're going to be doing today is hopefully a quick tutorial or quickish tutorial where we're just going to go along and fix a few bugs that I've noticed and make a couple of improvements. So we're going to find bugs as we go along, especially since I'm just roughly writing the base for most of our scripts from the start. So if you guys see any bugs or find anything, let me know and we'll try to fix it or improve on it. And we will be constantly improving the scripts that we already have and building on them as the series goes along. So later on we'll have much better AI and things like that as well. And yeah, we'll just keep going along until we get it so we've got a decent game to play, hopefully. So what I want to do with this shoot point that we've put on our pistol, this is where our ray comes out of, and we've set it to the 0Y position because we want it to travel in a straight line from the middle of the screen to the red dot sight that we've got, or the crosshair, whatever you want to call it. That's where the ray is going to fire to. So the only thing I want to change about this is I've got it set back on my pistol and I just want to move it forward on the Z axis so it's just in front of where our bullet should come from there. Okay, and that's all I want to do on that. And the reason why I want to do that is it's not a problem now, but if it's too far back, I don't know how far back you guys have put yours, you don't want the ray to be hitting anything before it comes out towards the enemy or whatever you're shooting at. Like, it could hit the player's collider or something else. I don't know what's going to be there in the future, so we don't want anything interfering with the path of the ray. And later on we probably make a layer mask or something so that we can actually choose what layers are affected by the actual ray cast itself, which yeah, we'll definitely do that at some stage as well. Okay, so I've just moved that forward a little bit. Another thing I noticed is when the enemies die, sometimes one will just keep moving along the ground. I think there's another reason for this which we're going to address in a minute, but I just want to do a failsafe for that as well. So if you go into enemy AI and what we're going to do is, where's our nav mesh agent? Yeah, there's our nav mesh agent, and we've got our enemy health. You can open up your enemy health, enemy AI, and your pistol script, because these are the ones we're going to be working on today. And in our health script, when we die, at the moment we set the bull to true, the enemy's dead. We play the death animation, then we wait 10 seconds, and then the enemy just disappears, which will also do something a bit better than this later on as well. But for now, that's fine. So in here, we need to actually access the navmesh agent and just make sure that nothing, like the enemy can't move anymore. So we'll set the speed of the navmesh to 0. So to access this from the enemy health script, we need to make this public. And if you save that, you'll notice now that if you go back into your game and let the script load, so if I go to my enemy, in the enemy AI we now have a public variable for the navmesh agent. There's nothing in it because when we start the game, we automatically find the navmesh agent ourselves. So we don't really need it to be an open slot like that where we drag the navmesh agent into. So to get rid of that so it doesn't get confusing and you wonder why it's not filled out, you can simply just come above the actual variable here and just do an open and closed square bracket and just write hide in inspector and then save that. And now if we go back into the game, wait for it to load, this will disappear. So it's a public variable, but it's not in the inspector. Okay, we've hidden it, which is, it's quite handy if you don't want to get confused by something you've made public just to access by another script or for any other reason. So that's done. We can now access this. I just noticed something. What is this? Get out of it. What is this? Okay, this looks like a Unity. Yeah, this is just a Unity error. I'll just clear that away. That's fine. So, getting back to it, we go in here, and we can already access the enemy AI script. because we've accessed it here to play the death anim. So under here we can just say enemy AI dot what do we call it? It's agent. That's right. Agent dot speed is equal to 0f. Control S to save that. And that problem will now be solved. The enemy will not, once it's dead and it's played the death animation, it's laying on the ground, there's no way that it can move towards the player still, okay? So that's just a fail safe for that. And what else did I want to do? Oh yes, this is the biggest one I found, I think. Okay, so I'll just show you something here. I'll turn the volume down because my sound effect's usually quite loud. So if I play the game, I've made it so I only have to use 2 shots to kill the enemy now, by the way. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay. See how I couldn't kill that enemy? I kept shooting him and nothing was happening. And this is why. What's happening is, when the enemy's dying, the collider's still staying there until the object is destroyed. So this enemy here was actually standing behind this collider and actually hitting this collider instead of the enemy will trying to shoot the collider. So you guys know how to do this already because we kind of did something similar for the trigger on this doorway, and when we walked through the trigger we made the collider not active anymore, okay? So what we might do is we'll sort of future-proof it, because in the future you might, well, we are going to have, I should say, we're going to have more than just the capsule collider on the zombie. I'll just make it so we can actually see him. Yeah, you're going to have more than just the capsule collider on the zombie, because in a lot of games you'll want to have like something so that you can recognize a headshot, or maybe you want to make sure you can recognize he gets shot in the limbs or something like that as well. You know, do more damage when he gets shot in the chest, and then, you know, double that damage again when he gets shot in the head. And you know, maybe you want the head to explode or something when we shoot it in the head or something like that. So you'll probably have more than just a capsule collider. This is very basic setup. You wouldn't really want this in a game, have a great big capsule collider like this only to recognize damage. So the other colliders that we place on this zombie, or you place on a zombie, they might not be a capsule collider. So we're just going to do an array of colliders so that you can drag all the arrays off your enemy into that collider array and then disable them whenever you want. So if you go into enemy health, we can do a public collider and make it an array, and we can just call it enemy colliders, or enemy col, it's fine, a bit shorter. And then when the enemy dies here, before we wait the 10 seconds to destroy the enemy, which we will be changing this in the future too, we'll do something a bit better than just have the enemy just disappear after 10 seconds. This is just the base of the script, as I keep saying. So underneath this one we just made, we can now say let's do another for each like we did for the other one. So we'll do a for, and then once it comes up, double tap tab. So let's say each col in enemy col, we want to say col dot enabled equals false. Okay, so save that, and now when we go back in on our enemy health, we should have our array here. Sorry, I was looking at the enemy AI script for some reason. This is our array here, and now if you just say you've got more colliders on here, you can simply just grab these and drag them onto here, and then every single collider, doesn't matter how many you put in here, when the enemy dies, it's going to get every single collider in that enemy collider array, and it's going to disable each one. Okay, so that's a pretty future-proof way of doing it, to make sure that we don't have colliders everywhere. The only problem is going to be that if the enemy doesn't have a collider, he's probably going to fall through the floor. So let's test that out. I just thought about that then. So there's ways around that, by the way. So let's I'll save the game and I'll disable this zombie, and let's just see what happens when we shoot the zombies now. Actually, what we need to do, because I've only changed it on the enemy in our scene, and that's not the enemy that we instantiate. The enemy that we instantiate when we walk through that trigger collider is actually this enemy here. So we need to make sure that we do it to this one, okay? So drag the capsule collider onto there, make sure it's the prefab zombie enemy, and then now when we play, I've got a feeling we're going to see some zombies fall through the floor, but we'll see. Nope. Perfect. Okay. Oh, that reminds me that you can see now I shot that other zombie behind him, no problem at all. And the zombie doesn't fall through the floor because of the nav mesh agent. If you were not using nav mesh agent, I suppose it would probably just fall through the floor if you disabled the collider. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And I noticed something then when I was shooting the zombies with that blood effect. I hate how that blood effect comes out, and I did something wrong, I believe. It wasn't. If you go into the pistol script for a second, yeah, in the shoot ray, yeah, so we instantiate the blood effect at the hit point, and I just use quaternion dot identity, which we talked about the other day, and this is not what we want to use because it's always going to instantiate it in the same transform rotation position. We actually want it to be the same transform rotation as the actual as the hit point that we hit, like the actual enemy. So what we can do is just, instead of quaternion dot identity, right, transform dot rotation, and that should be good to go now. Hopefully, let's have a look at it. And just with this, I also just want to change this. We had a debug.log, and we're just saying if we didn't hit something tagged as enemy, it just says hit something else. Like a much better way of doing this, we can always see exactly what we're hitting, is if we write hit without the quotation marks, hit dot transform dot name, and save that, and now it'll actually tell us the name of everything that the raycast will hit, which will come in very handy if you're testing out certain things. You know, if you're saying you want to hit, you know, a metal wall, it's called metal wall, or a concrete wall, or a wooden wall, or something like that. You know, it's going to let you know exactly what the ray is hitting. So let's just test that out as well. Make sure you save your scripts. And if we go back in here, still getting that error down there. I need to see what the hell's going on. Okay, so yeah, that's much better. It's much better. Okay, get a nice little blood spray effect. Yeah, I like that a lot better. And if we go pause the game, go to one of these zombies, you can see that the only collider that's sticking up now is the actual the nav mesh agent, and the capsule collider is disabled. As you can see there, it's enabled and it's disabled now. So that is good. Let's get rid of that. Also, we need to make sure the enemy health doesn't go below 0. We can fix that easy enough. It's not a problem. Like, once it goes below 0, it's dead. So, you know, we will probably make it just for, you know, just for the sake of it, to make it only go to 0 and then stop. So that was the other one I wanted to address. I think, was that everything? Save my game. I think that was the only issues I've noticed so far. Just go back to the scripts and have a quick look through before I end this video to make sure. Oh, I didn't show you that either. So if you go and shoot a wall now, it'll tell you exactly what the wall's name is, as it's named in the hierarchy, of course. Oh, yes, hang on. Yeah, I did notice something else to do with the health, that's right. So, I'll see if I can duplicate what happened again. I just want to see what this bloody thing is. What's this? Yeah, this is a Unity error that I can't seem to do anything about. In different builds of Unity, there's sometimes issues. There's probably a way to fix that, but it's not an issue for us. It's not an error from our code, put it that way. So it's not gonna, hinder us from doing anything we want to do. See that? You see there, I shot the floor twice, shot the door, shot the wall. That doesn't have a collider on it. Wall simple. Okay, so that's that, and this bug that I found, I hope I can get it to do it again. What was happening was the enemies were attacking me and damaging me when they weren't actually anywhere near me, and it's just the way I've done the AI script. I didn't do it very well, to tell you the truth, like some parts of it, so we will need to fix that. I just want to see if I can go to okay, the player's dead now anyway. Player. Anyway, I didn't do a very good job of replicating it, but I promise you it did happen. I was shooting at the enemies and I went to my player and I actually watched my health go down a couple of times without the enemy being anywhere near me. And that is an issue, of course. So, what we can do to fix that in the enemy AI. Yeah, it's how I've done this. What I should have had was another variable for attack distance as well, and then you'll generally put the attack distance as the first one. So if the distance between the player and the enemy was below attack distance, then you should attack straight away. But I kind of did it a bit of a lazy way, really. So what we can do is we can say, if I take this, cut this out, and then if we paste it in there and change it from an else if to an if. So we can say if distance is less than chase distance, and can attack, and is not player singleton.dead, then we want to attack the player straight up. And then this one, else if distance is greater than that. Yeah, I think that will be better. Okay. Alright, so save that and go back in. Wait for it to load. If we test it out now, yeah, so the health isn't going down, and then he comes up, and if he actually hits us, we lose some health. That's good. Finish him off, and this one's left, and he's not being able to damage us from any other distance. I think the distance is 2 meters, so he can't damage us from anywhere further than 2 meters. Okay, so hopefully that's working now. Alright, so hopefully we've fixed a few bugs and made a couple little improvements. Did a little bit of future proofing to make it easier for ourselves. In the next tutorial, I'm going to do some kind of iron sight system, which should be pretty cool. It might be a little bit tricky considering we have animations on our pistol, but yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm sure we'll be able to make something that's pretty sweet. Okay, guys, appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.